Hello, another video from Sergei Dratchev, and the new slogan is "We film what we want." But today, the topic of the video is actually my work as a freight agent or freight broker, and lots of people think that brokers, cheat carriers, and it's like real easy. You can just jump in and start making millions of dollars. A year. By the way, I was watching a CNN interview, and I like the anchor, and I just Googled, how old is this person, because I thought, she looked, pretty cool. And it turns out she was like 39, but then, how when you type in the question, then Google shows you questions other people ask. And one of the other questions that I would not think of asking, but the question was, how much does this person make as a TV anchor? And I'm like, okay, I'll buy it. So I'm curious too. So I click on that, and it says this particular person is believed to make $200,000 a month, like over 2 million a year, US currency. So that's where the money is. So the money is in television and motion pictures, boys and girls, not in freight brokerage. And I'm recording this video to serve to caution rookie wannabe brokers, especially that want to be independent. And recently I did a short video, like a 1-minute shorty, about differences between an agent and broker. And one of the major reasons why I decided to be an agent with a logistics company, even though I like, to be free, and I like, making my own decisions. But one of the major reasons was I was afraid of the potential liability as a broker. And so I have a friend who works from home like me, but the difference is, even though he's incorporated, but he's just basically one-man band, and he spent many years working as an agent for a logistics company, what I'm doing now, and eventually he decided to become a broker. And so he followed the steps, got his bond, got his MC number, right, his authority, signed up for load boards, got some TMS software, no big deal, right? And recently he was moving an expensive load, some kind of a machinery, where 4 or 5 trucks, were involved. Like one was specialized like RGN, and then the rest were like for pick up fall off loads, like step decks, flatbeds. And when he was booking this with the shipper, with the customer, he said, okay, so how many trucks you need, what kind of trailers? And the shipper says, okay, so many, flats, so many steps, and 1 RGN. Okay. So they never talked dimensions, because the broker worked with the shipper before, but nothing was said about these loads for flats and steps being over-dimensional, right? And so the broker finds the carrier shows up there with in this particular case, with the step deck trailer, and loads the load, and everything looks good. The driver starts driving, and then a couple of hours before the delivery point, something bad happens, right? And they never tell the broker. They never tell my friend about this. But when they're delivering, all hell breaks loose, because the consignee discovers a lot of damage on that load on the step deck. And the consignee, of course, advises the shipper or the customer of my friend, and the customer calls the broker and says, what the heck? What happened? And the broker says, hey, I don't know anything. They never told me anything. And so it turns out, after upon further investigation, that load was overdimensional. It was too tall, and so the guy or girl, whoever drove that step deck, he hit a bridge, and he never told the broker. He never told the owner of the goods, and so now my friend receives a nice, invoice, beautiful fonts, beautiful letterhead, and the amount they're requesting the broker to pay is something like $350,000, US. And so my friend calls me and asks me for advice. And I said, well, I'm not a broker, right? I'm not independent, but probably I said, I consulted with my boss, who knows much more about this, but it's clear that it's whose fault is it? Is it the fault of the shipper, who never mentioned anything about the load being overdimensional? Or is it the fault of the broker who didn't ask for dimensions? Or is it the fault of the carrier who, failed to measure the load? Or is it all parties involved, right? And so I talked to my boss, and we agreed that probably step one is hiring a lawyer for this broker, just, to be on the safe side in case, some complications happen. And then, of course, you have to go after the insurance company of the carrier. But the lawyer would be helpful if the carrier says, hey, it's not our fault. They never told us it was overdimensional. But I remember when I was a carrier, when I was an owner-operator, I had an incident, a slight incident where I was not experienced yet, and I was moving an excavator. And, if you don't know how to properly, curl the bucket, right? I see sometimes new guys do it, like they're holding an excavator. They don't bring the bucket all the way to the stick, right? And in my case, what happened is that I didn't curl it all the way, and my load was like 2 feet. I was probably like 15 feet overall, And something bad happened on a private property. And so cops showed up. Hey, it's private property. So there was no ticket, but I still had to pay the damages to the structure. Basically, it was a truck wash, right? It was a truck wash, and like 10 people. I said, guys, I'm oversized, right? Like, the tracks were wide, right? So 10 people are watching the sides. Nobody's watching the top. And I'm like a newbie, right, with this stuff. And something happened, but not serious. But still, I think the final repair invoice, where they had to call a construction company, send guys, and just fix the entrance to this truck wash. I think it was like 15 grand, Canadian. And so they deducted it from my pay as driver, right? Because I'm guessing the owner of the property went after the carrier. My boss, who I worked for, is owner-operator. The carrier went after me. And so, of course, it was my fault, my responsibility. Why? Because I did not measure the load, and I did not properly load the excavator. And so after that, what I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to make a point. But after that, I remember for maybe like 5-6 months, my boss insisted on me emailing or texting him with the dimensions. He says, after you load, you have to measure the height, especially the width, and just send me the email or text me on my cell phone. And you cannot leave the shipper unless you verify dimensions, And that, I really learned, a lot from that company. So this was one thing that I learned. I eventually left because the pay was not there and they didn't have enough loads. But I learned quite a few, things as driver that I was able to take advantage of, later when I became independent. So this measuring making sure you measure the height and the width before leaving the shipper, there was one thing they taught me. And then the second, of course, was we were obligated to provide status updates to the dispatcher before 9 o'clock every morning. Like, where am I? Like, what's the nearest, city, state, province? What's happening, loading, unloading, delivering, arrived at shipper, arrived at consignee, stuff like that. And that's another thing. So I find that specifically, two things that I find with carriers is, one, they cause damages and they say they're not responsible, right? Or they fail to notify the broker. And two, for some reason, it's super difficult for them to provide updates. They never want the broker to know the direct, cell number of the driver, because drivers complain, hey, brokers, like calling us, texting us like 10 times a day, But again, like, if you're independent and, you're not careful, you can really get, over your head. At least what's good is in the example with my friend from Texas, when he created his brokerage, he chose to be incorporated, right? Which at least covers his butt, in terms of, personal assets, right? But when I was thinking of doing this, I wanted just to keep things simple and be a sole proprietor, And if something like this would have happened and I was independent and there was a big, invoice from the customer, they could have, taken my home, my fancy camera, my computers, my drone, stuff like that. You don't know, right? And so I just wanted to put this out there and caution will be rookie brokers against making a decision like this, and taking it lightly. You have to factor everything in. Like, do you really want to be responsible for something like this, where heavy damages happen to the load and then it's your butt on the line, Or maybe it's better to start, as an agent for a large logistics company and learn the ropes, and maybe then go be a broker. So that's what I wanted to mention. And so today's it's super cold. It's minus 26 Celsius over here. Tomorrow in Calgary, Canada. So tomorrow it's gonna be like minus 33, which is just, let me just double check here. So Celsius to Fahrenheit. So minus 26 is minus 15 F. That's what we had this morning. And I was doing a video from the window here. Like, people really looked cold, cleaning up their cars before going to work. But overnight, we're going to have minus 33, which is minus 27 F. So really scary stuff. So, I did some fitness exercises in the morning with my kettlebells, and just I ran outside for 2 seconds to get rid of the garbage, but I don't feel like walking. Usually I go for lunch to the nearby shawarma place over there, but I don't know. I think now it's minus 20, which is still very, very cold. So anyway, I'll do another video later today because I was doing some shopping online, and now I got like 3 packages, 1 yesterday, 2 today. And now I'm waiting for the final package, but for some reason it's supposed to deliver today by the end of February 22nd, but on the website, on the courier's website, it still says on the way. It doesn't say out for delivery, which is kind of strange, but they still say estimated delivery before the end of the day today, Wednesday, February 22nd. So I'm waiting for that last package, and then I'm gonna do a video about this, about advantages of shopping online when it's so cold outside. All right, thanks for watching.